Now, Tony and I, and our visit with Mason Miller, I think you all know about the diabetes. We do talk a little bit about that with him. We all know that he throws hard. We get into that and some other stuff that you may not be expecting with the Padre reliever. Friday interview, and man, we're really excited to have with us Padres reliever Mason Miller joins us here today on 97.3 The Fan, and Padres, of course, in Minnesota, getting set to take on the Twins. Mason's been here for coming up on a month now, Mason, since the trade deadline. How are you acclimating to San Diego and the Padres? Everybody tells us that this is a very welcoming franchise and a welcoming locker room.
Oh, it definitely is, and thanks for having me, guys. It's been obviously a chaotic change middle of the year, but everybody within the organization and around the team's done above and beyond what they could do to help make me feel at home and comfortable and everything that I need. So the transition's come about as well as I think it could have.
You look as comfortable as anyone who has only been with the team a month can look. What's it been like, going from a situation that, wasn't ideal, obviously, with playing in a AAA park for your home games, to all of a sudden, not only are you playing in front of, 40,000 plus fans on a nightly basis, but these games are actually consequential. Like, what has it been like? Has it been difficult trying to control your adrenaline? Like, what's it been like pitching in this atmosphere?
Yeah, there's been an adjustment to it for sure, and I don't think that I gave it quite enough credit at first either. Just the situation of the game, and you're a baseball player, so you know what's coming, you know what to expect, and then you get into those moments. But sometimes it still speeds up on you, no matter how long you've been in the league. But it's just being in those situations and getting comfortable with the atmosphere, comfortable with the pressure, and remembering that you're there for a reason, and just do what you came to do, and nothing more. That's all.
Mason Miller, all-star with the Athletics. Now we're happy to have him here for sure in San Diego. So far for Mason Miller, 10 innings pitched, which is I believe 30 outs. 19 of those by strikeouts. I don't know what happened on those 11, Mason, but we'll figure that out at another time. Look, it's so obvious, so we have to ask. Everybody knows you throw hard. Has anybody ever been able to explain it to you how you were so lucky as to be able to throw this hard?
I think a lot of it's a combination of hard work and the blessings that were given to me physically, but also just the way I was raised by my parents and the work ethic they helped instill in me. Has really translated and helped me out so much. Through the highs and lows that this game has brought me. I've played at so many different levels and had success and failure at all these different levels also. So just kind of remembering where I came from and trying to keep that humility about me and just be grateful for every single day here.
Mason, you obviously have had to, as you've just finished going through, work to get to this point that you could be an all-star and be a guy at the back end of a bullpen. What was it like early? At what point did you start to understand the type of pitcher you could be? Should you start to plug that work into it?
Yeah, I think that's a hard question to answer because, baseball is such a mental game, and you find yourself a lot of times like, how do I keep the confidence about me, despite failures? And, I've talked about it previously with, you have 10 great outings and one bad outing. It's that one bad outing that sits on you. So just trying to find the things that you can pull from, when you're having those long periods of success, and to just kind of remind yourself that, that is in there no matter what kind of struggles you go through. I had a tough month of May this year and just kind of reflected back on the successes that I've had, coming up to that this season and then also last season. And really it's, watching the outings and control things I can control, like throwing strikes and location, and understand that sometimes you're going to get beat on your best pitch and you have to live with that. So just having the, kind of mental capacity and awareness to remind yourself of those things, even when it feels like the game's speeding up on you.
Mason Miller is with us. He's a young man from Pittsburgh, one of my favorite downtowns, by the way, Mason. I think it's absolutely beautiful there. And then I don't know whether you were highly recruited, but I'm assuming potentially you were not. You ended up at Waynesburg and then ended up over at Gardner-Webb. What were you thinking back then? Was the major leagues even a dream at that point when you started your college experience?
No, I felt like that dream had passed me by after about 14 years. I liked baseball. I loved competing, but I never really looked at it as something I was going to be able to do post-collegiately. So I ended up at Waynesburg knowing that I'd play there my freshman year, and that's all that really mattered to me, was being able to be out on the field and competing regardless of the level. I went through 2 years and not really having a lot of success there. Following my diabetes diagnosis in 2018, going into my junior year, that kind of turned the page for me. Had a lot of success, and then the 2020 season was shut down, and got that extra year and was able to jump up to a mid-major D1 school at Gardner-Webb and get my chance to perform on a little bit bigger stage in front of some scouts and get my chance to play post-collegiately, so it's like that dream kind of came back into focus in 2019, I'd say.
Mason, if you don't mind me asking, how did the diagnosis change things for you at that point?
Yeah, largely it was just health related for me. I was pretty thin, had a hard time putting on weight. So when I got diagnosed, I was about 160 pounds, and I'm standing in 6'5", like 235 now. So
wow,
wow,
about 75, 85 pounds of difference in there. That I think that's propelled me physically to be able to do the things I'm doing now. But also just staying consistent, and a lot of things I felt like I had good work habits before I was diagnosed, and I just haven't seen that success. So when I was diagnosed, started adding on weight and feeling healthy again, all those habits I created kind of came to a head and really started leading to success on the field.
Yeah, and
wow.
Mason is go ahead, Tony, sorry.
I was going to say it's amazing you were able to even pitch even 70 pounds lighter at that point. It's crazy.
Yeah, we should all have such problems that we need to put on 70 pounds, but that's another story. And by the way, Mason, you are to be commended. You came to San Diego, and right away, I think we were all kind of made aware of the diagnosis and the whole thing, and I think it's really meant a lot to a lot of people. So you're to be commended for sharing with all of that. Last thing going forward, I mean, your personal goals and how you feel, fitting into this bullpen with Suarez and yourself and everybody else down there, trying to carry this team to, some October baseball.
Well, I think that's the name of it, is playing in October and playing our best baseball in October. I've said it before, and I'm going to continue to say it, that regardless of my role in this team, I want to help us win games and be useful no matter what role that is. I was having a lot of success closing with the A's, and it's a role I feel comfortable in. But we have a handful of guys that could be doing that for this team. So giving Schulte the ability to mix and match and set up matchups later in the game, has certainly allowed us to have a lot of success. And these guys here, even from the beginning of the year on, way before I got here, have been doing a phenomenal job. So just finding out how I can fit in and how I can add value to this group.
Last one from me, Mason. I noticed you had your Watt jersey on as we arrived here. How did your fantasy draft go?
Well, we came out of it projected first place, so I'm pretty happy with it. But
nice.
Like anything, the rejections meet the rubber of the road pretty quick. So we'll find out.
If you haven't heard yet, I understand Cronenworth offers really lousy trades. So I read that somewhere. So be careful.
We have him in week 1, so hopefully we bury him.
I'm just glad to hear what's important to Mason Miller is what's important to us. Getting that first fantasy football W. Hey Mason, thanks so much. Welcome to San Diego. We are thrilled to have you. Look forward to the rest of this year and beyond. Best of luck, sir, and appreciate your time very much.
Thank you both.